Hey there, and welcome back to How to Run Profitable Retreats. In today's episode, I'm bringing you a powerful behind the scenes snippet from my talk at the One Woman with Impact Summit. We're diving deep into a topic that so many entrepreneurs love to avoid, and that's profitability. Because let's be real, running your business like a hobby won't keep the lights on. In this conversation, you'll hear me and my friend Christi Kendall break down what it really costs to land clients, why charging low prices can actually hurt your business, and how making bold investments can spark massive transformation, not just in your bank account, but in who you become as a leader. So if you're ready to shift out or hustle mode and into true business ownership and finally pay yourself what you deserve, stay tuned. Let's jump in. I love talking about profitability. Like my podcast is called How to Run Profitable Retreats. I'm a geek about profitability. Christy is as well. And there are different layers on how we cover the concept of profitability, from even starting from the point of, do I need to just start being a little bit profitable? Am I a little bit profitable, but I need to be more, right? Like in which layer you're at. So having this information, it is very, very important for us because then we can drive the conversation based on you, the audience. So we can actually give you actionable steps that will help you grow your business. So I have Marcia saying no, Kimberly, no, not yet. Bonnie, you do a lot of pro bono coaching. No more pro bono coaching. Delete it from your it's not even an offer anymore. Can I get, Bonnie, can you type in the chat that a promise to yourself and to everyone here in this room that you will not do more pro bono coaching? Raya, low profits right now.
And one thing I want to say about that, for those of you who are brand spanking new in your business and you know that you need those testimonials and those case studies and those things that you're getting, what I want you to know is there's ways to do that where you don't have to continue to give away your services for free. And the other side of that as well is the confidence piece. Know what you have is valuable. You have done the work, you've invested in yourself. You are at a level in which people will invest. And we like to push people, so.
Yes. Because we are all about changing who we are in this summit. It's about living after these 3 days a different person.
Yes.
A higher version of ourselves. Yes.
And I do want to say one thing to that. When you do that, there is tangible things that happen from that, but the energetics, and many mentioned that when we were in Florida, we had an event that we went to, we had our own retreat that we hosted. And in that same 3 weeks that we spent in Florida, we had a photo shoot. And that photo shoot walked us through a transformation of who are we, where are we going, and how do we embody that now? And we had to look at that. And the energetics of that, Lenny said we made a post and got 3,000. What we normally get on that post is around 300 to 500. We've gotten 7 at times. And we got 3,000 from doing that. And that's energetics, because we did the same thing that we always do. It was the same system, the same process. We have a very fine oiled machine. And so it was nothing in our doingness that we did differently. It was literally embodying this transformation that we put ourselves through and that we were walking through with this photographer. Every aspect of that entire journey was a transformation. The investment in something like that, we not only invested in the photographer, we invested in a woman to come in. She was a stylist. And so there was many areas, many aspects of investing that was stuff that we're comfortable investing in, a coach or marketing or whatever, right? But when you invest in something that's out of your comfort zone, your typical processes, there's transformation in that. Investing in itself will create transformation. And then we had to walk through this process. And it was an identity shift. It was emotional. And when we did that, on the other side of that was huge shifting. Money that came in. The one thing I can say that was the thing I noticed the very most was the level of our audience up leveling. We saw an up level in the speakers that signed up for our summits. We saw an up level in the clients that were signing up for us. It was huge. And so that's the kind of things that happen in transformation, in investing, in intentional, creating your own intentional transformations, as uncomfortable as it may be.
Yes, and it's not meant to feel comfortable.
Mm-mm.
Just know that. Change is not meant to be comfortable. If it's comfortable, you're not doing it right. Now, I want to talk about Seth Godin. So he is the father of email marketing. Yeah. The father of email marketing. And he talks about something very specific that is like every time you say yes to something, you're automatically saying no to something else.
I love that.
Every time, Bonnie, for example, that you take these pro bono clients, you're saying no to a paying client because you are filling up your calendar and that space is no longer available for someone who's ready to pay for you, to pay for your services. So when we make decisions about how we show up, where we show up, we need to be extremely mindful of how we do it and where we do it. Because every yes, it's a no to something else. Does that make sense for everyone here? I know we're a small but mighty group today, but it's okay. The right people are here listening to this message right now. And as we go through this process of understanding that every yes, it's a no to something else, we also need to go deeper into this understanding. And maybe some of you will be like, Lainey is pushing my buttons right now. But people who pay attention. So if you sell something for $500, they're going to expect every single dollar back in return. Yeah. They're just going to expect it. Alex Formosa says it. The lower the price point and what people pay you for, the more difficult the client is. And it's so truth. Because the way they measure success is based on every single thing that you give to them. And then they make you responsible for their success. Also, from the other side, when someone pays you $100 or nothing, or $1 or $500 or $5,000 or $50,000, you show up with the same energy because our subconscious is wired to be like, oh, I'm going to give them what's worth $500 to me. So the more they pay you, the better results they get because you show up in that energy. And it does not mean actually giving them more, right? We spoke about on luxury experiences that less is more. But sometimes we just don't try to fill up the gap because people are wondering, so if I don't show up to this session, are you going to give me a refund? So when we think about running a business that is profitable, we need to think about us first. We need to think about what do we need in our business in order to stay on business. So don't even think about right now in this second about considering like, oh, well, I want to help the world. Yes, we all want to help the world. We all want to help people change their lives. It's a given. It's just a fact. You don't even need to consider that because we all know every woman in here wants to help other people. But how can you help them when we're showing up from an empty cup? How can we help them if we're thinking about how are we going to pay for rent? Cultivation creates clarity for you and your client. Don't give them everything you know. Give them everything they need to know to solve the problem. 100%. So again, let's bring back and circle down this conversation. You need to think about what you need in order to stay in business? Forget right now about like, I want to have a $1 million day. What are your goals? What are your business goals? What do you need in order to keep serving people? Do you know actually how much money do you need in your business in order to keep running it? You can type a yes or a no in the chat. Yes, yes. Okay, good. So we have 50-50 in this space. Yes, no. Okay. Now, next question. And it gets trickier as we go through this process. Who knows their client acquisition cost? How much does it cost you to actually land that client? Dun, dun, dun. Do you even consider that as something that you need to know? Holly, is a question about what do you, Raya, your soul? Your client acquisition cost, right? Never thought about it from that perspective before. How much does it cost you to land that client? Landing a client can cost you between 300, a high ticket client can cost you between $300 and $800 to actually land that client. $300 to $800. So if you're selling your services for $333 because it's an angel number, magic number, and whatnot, are you actually kind of paying your client to be your client? You kind of are. So clients nowadays requires 11 hours of content in 2025 to buy a high ticket from you. That's 11 hours of your work. That is one of the costs of acquiring that client, these 11 hours of content. If you bought your week cost, right? And you're like, okay, and I love taking out my calculator for these things because you know what is better than actually having some real numbers. So let's say that, well, anyone drop a number in the chat of how money you need to make per month, just like, you know, your goal as a business, not even your salary, just like your goal as a business. How much money per month? You're muted, Christine.
Let's be specific. How much money do you want to make, or how much money do you need to run your business, is what you're asking?
Yeah. So, no, how much money you want to make per month?
Profit. What do you want for profit?
Revenue.
Revenue. Okay.
Right. Revenue, the money that comes into your bank, to your business bank. Profit, revenue minus expenses. So we have 3 10Ks here. So let's just take the 10K as an example. Okay. So I have my beautiful calculator here, super fancy stuff. You can see I spent so much money in this calculator just for this exercise. So $10,000, 4 weeks in average, right? So that's 2,000. You need to be making 2,500 a month, correct? And let's say that you work 40 hours per week, 20 hours. Give me a number. How many hours do you want to work per week? 40 hours. Okay, we have Sam. Bunny, 25. Holly, 32. Very specific number. Kimberly, 30-ish. Okay, so we're going to go with Bunny because it's 25 hours and it's going to be very easy to use my calculator. I don't even need to use it, actually. So we have 2,500 divided by 25 hours per week. That means my hour of work, I need to be generating $100 per hour in order to get those $2,500 a week. That equals $10,000 of revenue per month. So if I spend 1 hour talking to my ideal client, this is already a part of my acquisition cost. So the discovery call is $100. Christy, can you help me maybe type it in the chat, just like the cost of like the discovery call, $100. And we're using Bonnie's example. Now, in order for people to get into your discovery call, how many hours a week do you spend on social media posting and getting people into the space of them actually booking that call? 1 hour per week, 1 hour per day, 2 hours per day. Sam, 3 hours, 3 hours per day. So in this case, we usually would need a little bit more, like, you know, how many people actually from these 3 hours turn into discovery calls. But let's say you have a 10% conversion rate and you get 10 people to book your discovery call, right? So your 3 hours of social media is $300, right? So $300 of social media. We're going to divide this by the amount of posts and whatnot. But if we get 10 people to book discovery calls and then one will convert, that means that cost of all these other 9 calls that you had becomes part of the cost of acquiring that one client that converted. So your acquisition cost for that client is actually $1,300. What? I know.
And everyone thinks that organic is so cheap.
Yeah. Because we do not see it as a cost, as the money that is coming out of our bank account. Because it's coming out as time. So we do not measure it. So if it's costing you $1,300 to acquire this client, how much do they need to pay you in order, Kimberly, I love your emojis. Yeah. So how much do they need to pay you in order for it to be a thriving business? So there are numbers to help us figure this out. So we do not need to guess double. Yes, it could be double. Yes, a lot of places will be like, oh, you just need to double your cost and then that's the price you sell. A lot of people teach you that. I do not teach you that. Because the reality behind the scenes is that this is called a marketing operational expense inside of a budget. So if you work for a company and you do what is called a P&L, a profit and loss report, your marketing operation expenses is what you spend to market to people so you can get the clients. There's different percentages depending on businesses or whatnot, but a good range is a 10%. So if your cost, right, and you need to do this exercise, of course, for yourself, but if your cost of acquiring a client is $1,300, they should be paying you $13,000. So you can go inside of this metric. This does not mean that 90% of the money that comes in there is going to be your profit. It's not. Because you still have to pay for maybe ads, maybe a social media manager, for the place where your website and your calendar lives, right? So there are other operational expenses. And I know I'm going a little bit into like the rabbit hole of very technical, but I want you to start seeing your business like a business, not like a hobby. And in order to do that, you need to understand your numbers. You need to see what is the reality of your business and what actions do you need to take in order to get those results. A lot of coaches out there tell you, oh, I have a 95% profit. So they say they only spend 5% of the money actually doing everything they have to do. They are not running it really like a business. Because if you run it like a business, you would be an employee and you would have a salary. So your business, let's take him as an example, right? Pitch with Kim. Her business has to have a salary for herself. So you should be paying yourself a salary, another operational expense, right? The human resources space, plus your marketing costs, plus your operational, the cost of running the business. And maybe if you have a salesperson, you need to pay that salesperson. So that is running a business. So you need to give yourself a salary, and that needs to be included. And then everything else that is remaining, that is actually your profit. I'm like, did I just go too deep into the rabbit hole, Christy?
No, I think it's good. One of the things I talk a lot about on when it comes to when I'm teaching about systems is that so many women feel like they've invested in things that didn't get them results. And when I deep dived into figuring that out and looking for that, what actually was happening is that most women do not understand business. They do not understand the numbers behind the scenes. And when you're looking at what do I spend money on in my business to get me to the next place, or I'm stuck, or I'm not getting what I need, or I'm not getting results, if you understand the numbers, you're going to have a better understanding of where to invest in your business, how to invest in your business, and what will actually be the right thing to invest in for your business. Because you have to invest in your business. You have to. You cannot do this alone. You cannot grow without learning something new or buying systems or structures or strategies or AI tools or whatever. You're going to be spending money in your business. You just want to do it intentionally and intelligently. And speaking of podcasts, because that seems to be a big topic of this summit, I did over 1,000 pre-podcast interviews in a year and a half. And I used that for its target research. And that was 90% of what women would say. I'm not getting results. I spent $45,000 on my business this year and I didn't get the results. So when I deep dived into that and looked at their business, they did get results. They just didn't understand how those results were showing up for them because they didn't know how to look at these numbers like this. So if you can understand these numbers, even if you grab one or two concepts from these numbers, it will help you make good decisions in your business, know where to invest, how to invest, and know where you're getting results. The end result is, yes, we want numbers in our bank account and the client in front of us. But so much growth in your business happens before that actually will happen. And so you can share with us in the chat, like what this information does for you, because not everybody loves numbers. Many of the wild women are creatives. We want to be in our feminine energy and the flow of things. We want to do things intuitively in our business. But like I said earlier, the masculine and the feminine, you have to understand both sides, both the structures and the flow. And if you can just go into this with us and really understand this stuff or start to gain an understanding of it, it will keep you in the game and you'll start to see and know where the results are happening.
It's so important, Christy. And I like really my messaging is all about like treat your business like a business.
Yes.
Not like a hobby, not like a freelancer, like an actual business. And I was not going to do this, but I just decided it right now. I was like, okay, so I usually do my business reviews, consultations for $1,000 for anyone who comes through, like, and wants to like check out what's the status of their business. Forget about everything else, right? So what I'm doing is I'm going to offer anyone hearing this call, just during this call live, this will not be in the replays or anywhere else. If you want, you can book a 1-hour call with me and you bring your numbers, right? This is thing number one. You need to bring your numbers and I'll help you figure out where are those gaps. So I'll drop the link in the chat. It's totally optional. No one is going to remind you or push you to book it. But I just felt like if someone here in this room could really use this space to review your business and your numbers and see where are the gaps, because there's always money gaps. Yeah, there's always spaces where you could be generating more money. I'll look at your offers and at your numbers, and I'll tell you a couple of things that you can shift so you start losing money on your business. Yes. And working on your relationship with money is super important. The beginning of my business journey, I had to do so much money work. I used to get to this threshold, and then an emergency would happen, and all the money in my bank account would go away, up to zero. And then I would go right, get the money there, and then again, over and over again. And I was like, what the hell is happening here? How is this possible? And the reality behind the scenes is that I had this limiting belief that I just needed enough. So whenever I surpassed that enough, whatever my brain thought was enough, it would find a way to just drain that bank account. And then, oh, you have enough. You don't need more than enough. Let's get you back. So we need to work a lot in our money belief system in order to grow and expand your business. Because we've been trained to think that money is evil. That if we have money, we're going to become a horrible person. The reality is money just expands. If you're a horrible person, you'll be more horrible. If you're a good person, you'll be a better person. That's it. It's just, it expands who you are. That's what money does. You don't have numbers to go with your wine night. Well, reach out to me when you do. All right. This is so much fun. Any